Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome to Malaology. I am Teresa, Doctor of Metaphysics and OG Mala Maker, here to help you get the most out of your mala. So today we're going to talk about if your mala breaks. Usually when a mala breaks, it'll break right at the guru bead like this. This is what it will look like 99% of the time. There are different reasons that your mala will break, and depending on why your mala broke, you would do one of three things, right? So if your mala broke because you tugged on it, you improperly wrapped it around your wrist so it stretched, right? 99% of the time that's what happened, and that's usually why it's broken at the guru bead. Or if you have a silk mala, which I recommend you do not get silk malas. Sericulture is a very cruel practice, the harvest of silk. But if you do have a silk mala and you get the knots wet, or even if you have a hemp mala and you get your knots wet, or if you even have a nylon mala and your knots are always getting wet, right? That can compromise the structural integrity of your beads. So if that happens, if your mala broke because of some type of a physical thing, then you would restring your mala, right? You can prevent that from happening if when you get your mala, you keep it in a hemp pouch when you want to sleep with it and put the pouch under your pillow, right? If you get a mala from Malaology, I will send it with a hemp pouch for that very reason. Or for you to keep it in your purse and to take it with you, just get a natural fiber pouch, and then you can have your mala with you anytime you want, anywhere you want, in any way you want, and make sure that your beads are safe. Okay. If you are improperly wrapping your beads, there's a right way to stretch them, but I wouldn't recommend that with silk or hemp either. But with nylon, there's a right way to stretch them. I'm going to put a link in a video that I posted to help you properly stretch and wrap your mala. And if you find that even after you've properly stretched it, your mala will not wrap comfortably around your wrist, just don't do it. Get a new mala with more beads. Even if you have to message the mala maker and ask them to add beads to your mala because you have a larger wrist, or take a few beads away because you have a smaller wrist, right? That is doable. Your mala maker should be able to honor those kinds of small requests. Even though it changes the number of the beads on your mala, right? A traditional mala has 108, but say your wrist comfortably takes a 99 bead mala, that's not going to affect the magic of your mala, because the mala was made for you and your own special number. Okay. I will post another video about the numerology of mala later on. With the getting the beads wet part, you can prevent that obviously by just not letting your beads get wet. But if you have gotten your beads wet a lot in the past, anointing your mala, just put a few drops of oil between your hands and rub your beads between your hands like this, right? And get a little bit of oil into your knots. That will help to fortify the material of your knots. So that should help to extend the life of your mala. So that's structural. And you will know generally if your mala broke because of structural issues, because you won't have had your mala for very long, or you know that you're being rough with it, or just the way it broke, you could tell there was a real tug there, right? But say your mala didn't break for this reason. Say you were just wearing your mala around your neck and it fell off, which I've had happen before. I've had lots of people contact me and say, out of the blue, my mala just fell apart, right? That's a different situation. And that can be one of two causes. And this is for you to look within and to maybe even have a conversation with your mala, try to come to an understanding. So either your mala, you have finished a cycle with your mala, which we'll talk about next, or your mala couldn't contain the energy of you or your environment. All right, because your beads, your gemstone beads, are here to support you energetically. If they immerse themselves in your energetic body when they're worn or carried or used for mantra, and if your intentions are too much for your mala to support, or if the energy in your relationships or your environment or in your person is too much for your beads to support, they can fall apart. Obsidian rarely breaks in this instance. So if you have a mala with obsidian on it, or an obsidian mala, and your mala just fell apart, it probably wasn't due to its inability to hold your energy, right? I see obsidian do this so very rarely that I always recommend, I often recommend that if your mala does break for this reason, and you choose to restring those beads that say you're attached to it, that you weave obsidian into your mala as well to help support the structure of the beads. Now, this won't always work, but you can say this one has black amazonite, larvikite, and obsidian. Say you have an amazonite mala, a black amazonite or whatever mala, and it breaks, just alternate that with obsidian, a couple of amazonite beads and obsidian bead, a couple of amazonite beads and obsidian beads, so that obsidian is immersed throughout the design and the pattern of your beads. That will lend its support. I don't quite understand why obsidian is so strong in this way, but I can tell you from years of experience and seeing hundreds of broken malas, that obsidian malas are by far the least broken. Let's just put it that way. So also you want to, and while we're on the subject, the ones that break the most often are mica beads like lepidolite, agate beads, and jasper beads. So now I'm not saying that these beads are weak. I'm just saying energetically, sometimes it can be a bit much for those gemstones to match your intentions, your energy, or your environment. Okay. So what you can do, which will help, but it's not going to necessarily prevent this, is to clear your beads regularly. And I'll be posting a video next on that. But you also want to, if this is an issue for you, if you know you have big energy or big issues that you're working through, or you're in a very perhaps toxic situation, right? Toxic environment, toxic relationships, your beads are going to let you know, and they will break. They're just going to be like, I just can't with this anymore, and they will break, right? And you will know. So while you're clearing your beads of energy, you also will need to clear yourself of the toxicity, the negativity, clear your environment of it. So if you're not, say you want your beads to bring love into your life, but you're in a toxic relationship, they're not going to serve you if you remain in a toxic relationship, right? So there could be something in your life that you need to change. Okay. So the last one is the cycle ending. Now think of your mala as a circle, right? Because a mala is a circle. It's a circle of beads, and a circle is a cycle, right? That's where the word came from, cycle. So you cycle through your mala when you practice mantra, and you stop at the guru bead, and then you turn the mala around and you cycle the other way. You honor the intention for your mala by not crossing your guru bead. So if your cycle has ended, it broke at the guru bead, you would not cross that guru bead, but the mala has crossed the guru bead. The mala has given up the intention. It has completed the intention, and you've achieved that guru bead per se. Okay. So being that your beads represent a cycle, you don't necessarily need to practice mala mantra, right? You wear this circle around your body, and it encircles you with its energy, right? So it's not necessarily just a mantra practice or a spiritual practice. It is it's a relationship that you have with your mala. You may not have a conscious relationship with that guru bead, right? But it serves a purpose anyways. So you will find your mala just breaks out of nowhere, just when you're putting it on, gently, kindly, and lightly, and it just falls apart. And you're like, I don't have any toxicity in my life. I know that my energy is super high vibe. I've been working through a situation, or I've been working on my shadow, or I've been experiencing growth. I've experienced spiritual evolution. I've learned to be kind to myself, to be kind to others, whatever it is. You understand that you've completed something, that you've grown in some way, and your beads are releasing you from the I don't want to say the bondage, but from the binding, from the bond of the commitment for that intention. I want this mala to help me foster peace in my life, right? It is done. So the mala will break. You've achieved a certain level of peace in your life. Now it's time to ascend to a new intention or to a new level of peace. If that's what we're talking about. So that happens, and you will know it, you'll recognize it, right? And so obviously there's nothing that needs to be done in your environment. There's nothing that needs to be done with you. You have a choice in this case, right? So you have achieved the guru bead. You have achieved the intention of your mala. So you can now restring it if you choose, right? But if you do that, you want to change something about your beads. So that happened with this mala for me. This was my favorite mala ever. I love, love, love it, made of ocean fossil. And it broke. And I knew that I had achieved the ending of a cycle. So I left it on my altar for a couple of years. And I missed it, and I loved it, and I thought about it. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to restring these beads, but I'm going to use a different guru bead, and I'm going to use less beads. So it was a 108 bead mala. I turned it into an 81 bead mala with a new guru bead, right? A new intention and a new level of shadow work. That's what I use my fossil mala for. So by doing that, I've done all three things that you can do with your mala if it breaks, right? I left it on my altar for a while so that I could understand what it was that happened and process what it was that I experienced while using the mala, right? I gave a part of those beads back to Mother Earth by burying them, right? And then I restrung it. So those are your three choices. You can restring your beads in any of the three cases that I gave you, but if you restring your beads due to them being unable to hold the energy, definitely add obsidian, right? If you are restringing them due to having completed a cycle and then they broke, change something about them. Now let me talk about keeping your beads on your altar. In any of those cases, for whatever reason that your beads may break, it is a very good idea to place them on an altar or a special place, right? To give them time to process the change that they went through, to give yourself time to understand what may have happened there, right? And to allow your gods, guides, and guards to talk to you about what they may want to happen with your mala beads, right? For me, it took 2 years. It can take a little while, and a lot of us are really attached to our malas, and I understand that. But again, learn to make a mala, learn how to make malas. Again, I sell mala kits, and I teach people how to make malas, and I think that is one of the most important parts of the mala practice is making it for yourself, making it as gifts. It is a beautiful way to bond with your beads, but it's also a beautiful way to bond with your intentions and to process your own energy, right? And the direction that you want to go in. So that is the restringing, that is the altar. And with the burying and the giving back to Mother Earth, just recognize that those beads came from Mother Earth. They're a gift from Mother Earth, right? And ultimately, they belong to Mother Earth, just like you do, right? They're a part of her. And so that's where they belong ultimately. That's where they're going to go back ultimately. I think it's the most natural thing to bury them or to place them in a river or a brook or, some special place out in nature, some place that looks like an altar out in nature, a stack of rocks that just naturally occurs or something like that, right? So I would definitely say consider giving at least one bead back, just one bead back whenever your mala should break. All right. So check out the next video on your screen, wherever it may be, on 6 different ways that you can clear your beads, and when you should use which way, which method. All right, I'll see you there. Mala blessings, love and light.